and Reid family video recorded on the 21st of April 1987. In the background you can hear the music of the Thousand Welsh Voices. Reid, who you will be seeing in a minute, was a member of this choir when they sang at the Albert Hall. He's a member of Brighton Welsh Male Voice Choir. In front of you is the coat of arms of the Reid family.
I'm Reid, born the 2nd of September 1908 in the reign of Edward VII, born in Roundel Crescent. Then we moved from Roundel Crescent to Bernard Road, where my sister was born. From there down to Artington Road. From Artington Road back up the old bit to Whippingham Road. From Whippingham Road to Brading Road, that was in 1914 when the war broke out. And then in 1925 we moved up to Clayton Road in the new estate at Queen's Park. Brand new house, electric light and all that, because we'd had gas previously. Indoor toilets, everything up to date, you know. And then from there I stayed there until I got married, then went down to live down at King Street. Stayed down at King Street to halfway through the war. Then shifted up to 50 Elliot Road. We stayed there and had two more children up there. Then along came a boy, so we had to have a bigger house then to put the bigger family in. Then we moved out to Barkham Road at Moulsecoombe then. Then along came another boy, that defeated the object of having a bigger house. And apart from that, we never moved far away anyway, because I went to Lewis Road School, went right through my school career at Lewis Road till 1922. Then started work for Charlie Foote in Oxford Street. He eventually went sick and had to pack up work. So I got with Bravens then. I spent the next 40 years with Bravens. General maintenance work and various contracts all over the place. There's London, Southampton. Mostly work for Norwich Union banks and people like that. Quite interesting work sometimes. And then was when the war broke out, got lumbered with the bomb damage work at Deptford at the beginning of the war. So quite a bit of fun up there. And then the Doodlebug came and we got moved to Croydon then. We had 3 years up there at Croydon. Practically saw the war out up there. And we went down to Southampton to do some rebuilding on a pub that was one of Watney's pubs, which we'd done some work for. Why they sent us right down to Southampton, I don't know. I suppose there wasn't any builders left down there. We had quite a nice time while that lasted. What else was there down there? We had quite a happy time as a kid, because I was only 6 years old when the other war broke out, so I can just remember going up and seeing the artillery go away from Brighton, from the Preston barracks. Everybody lined up to see them being driven and marched up along the town and up Trafalgar Street into the goods yard. The horses, of course, all had to be loaded into boxes. And, well, it was a wonderful thing, like, but once the one phase it went on. But I used to be packed off up to Chailey most of my holidays. As soon as I was away from school, I was back up there that's where I enjoyed most of my early life, you know. Got to know all the cows by name and the pigs and everything else, you know. I was quite happy when I was in with the pigs, as they called it. Uncle George used to run a little Acme car thing, what we'd call a taxi today, from the Swan down to the station with Cook's Bridge and take people to and fro, meet the trains in. Like, that's the only time you had to go down there when a train come in, which was about 4 times a day. So it wasn't no messing about with a proper 10-minute bus service like we got today. And if he knew the people that he was picking up, he used to take me with him, so I rode on the box like, and just open the doors for the people and copped a copper or two here and there like. If it was a busy one and he didn't particularly want me, I used to wait till he got started and then run along behind and sit on the axle at the back. Because the people were sitting in the cab, they didn't know I was there. Used to have a ride to wherever they was going like, and come back on the box with him. He used to do the transport for funerals. That was quite a thing, you know, because all the harness and the equipment, the hearse and everything all had to be polished up, especially with this funeral. And then used to help Gran with the chicken, and cause she was getting on a bit, but she could still do her share of work, right? When the cows had to have a drink for if they had a cold or something wrong with them, they used to have a long German wine bottle, fill it up with something, and Uncle George used to get out hold of the cows' horns and pull their head back while she shoved the bottle down their neck, because cows had horns in them days. They didn't de-horn them then. And then there was the milk to be taken over to Plumpton Creamery. That was quite a nice run sometimes, a jog over there like, and there was always somebody about to give you halfpenny for some sweets. Old Major Grantham, he was a big noise in the district when he used to come there, because he was in the army during the war. He had some nice little job not far away, I suppose, down in Lewis. He never seemed to go away anywhere. He used to come down on a blue and grey horse. We always used to stand and salute him, like, and of course there was a couple of coppers used to come over. But, you know, generally we had a pretty good life, really. And of course holiday times, when everybody else was on holiday, my dad was on the railway. We didn't have, railwaymen didn't have no holidays between Easter and about September, because they were busy. They didn't have their Sunday working like they got now for holiday time. They was out from 6 till 10 very likely. But after the holiday period, of course he used to get his time, then we used to get time off for school then, because it was at awkward hours. Used to be a usual trip. We had 5 passes on the London-Brighton, 5 free passes. 1 day at Portsmouth, 1 day at London in the zoo, very likely a day at Tunbridge Wells and 1 at Hastings, so that we'd done the full triangle of the Brighton railway section. Of course we was somebody really, you know, because the other poor blooming kids only went as far as Essex or Avonsea for their holidays. Because we went to London every year for the day, you know, that was something. Stop and see the guards go by, and then cross to Baker Street to go to the zoo. We'd seen all London then, like about 2 streets was all London to us. Smashing time we used to have. Of course there was always the old, when we got to Victoria, Dad being a railwayman, he knew where the refresh was, straight over the Shakespeare, glass of lemonade and a blue and goat biscuit, and he had a pint, and Mum had a Guinness I suppose, and then all up through see the sights like. Through the museums, Kensington, that was a great thing too. Mum used to get a bit cheesed off, but otherwise it was alright. So that's the end of my childhood life, but after that I got married, and then so I'll pass you on to my wife. She can tell you more about my married life than I can.
Hello, I'm Dorothy Reid. I was born at 39 King Street in 1911, the 24th of March. My maiden name was Pitt. I went to Middle Street School and I stuck there until I was 14. I left there and went to and worked at the photographers in Avery's in St James's Street there. The earliest memories of my childhood was my brother in the First World War. He was a sailor, and he used to come home on leave. He used to take me out shopping because he was a sailor. They used to let him have extra meat and things like that. But also I remember when I used to play, I used to play on the step with empty matchboxes, and he used to give me a penny for them. I can remember that very well. But my eldest sister, lost her first boyfriend in the First World War. My mother was a midwife, and my father was a valet in the Indian Army. And when he came home, he was a cooper in the brewery, and it caused quite a bit of sensation with my mother's side of the family because they said he was making barrels for the filthy beer, and they didn't appreciate that. Len and I were married at St Peter's Church, which was the parish church of Brighton, and we had 4 bridesmaids and a little page boy. The page boy was Bernard Pitt. 2 of the bridesmaids were Evelyn and Kathleen Pitt, and one was Len's sister Joan, and the other one was, I forget, the other one was Millicent, my eldest sister's girl. We've been married for 54 years this year. We've had some hardships, but we've been very happy marriage, really. I think I've been happier married than I was when I was single. I have 5 children. I have Jean, who is 52 this year, then I have Kathleen, Jennifer, and then we had 2 boys, Terry and Chris. Chris. 8 grandchildren. Jean has a boy of 23, I think he is, and another boy of 16. And then Kath has one at 23 and one at 25. Nicholas is 25, Maria is 23. And Jennifer and Ken, that's my son-in-law, they never had any children. Terry has had a little girl, Rebecca, who is 3. His wife is expecting another little baby in October. And Chris has 3 children. Kelsey is 14, Tracy is 12, and Tommy is 4 today. Sorry, I forgot to mention that Jean's children's names were Simon is the eldest and Martin is the youngest. My husband's very active in both his choirs. He's in the Brighton Welsh and the Brighton choir. He's also very keen gardener. I am quite active at our church at Mary Magdalene Colddean. I do all the flower arranging up there and help with all the catering and enjoy it very much. I think that is all I can remember now, so I'll pass you over to Chris's wife's parents, Tommy and Enid. Right? All right.
Thanks, Dot. I hope I do as well as you've done because it's very difficult to remember back. Anyway, I was born in 1918 on September the 4th. My mother and father both came from Ireland. My mother from Fermoy, my father from Cork. My father was in the heavy artillery and was rather badly wounded. Anyway, he came out. I was born in Brighton. He came out of the army and eventually took a position as manager of Tyler's, the wine merchants in St James Street, which in actual fact is all around the locality that Chris's mum and dad have been living. So both Len and I remember a great deal about Brighton in the old days. I used to spend most of my time actually on the beach. In those days we seemed to have long hot summers and every day was on the beach from maybe 9 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night. And I went to the Blessed Sacrament Convent and then to Barndine. After I'd been to Barndine for a couple of years, my father was taking me when I had to leave school, which was at about 13 and a half. I started hairdressing. Worked for a very old established shop in Ship Street called Caro's, and Chris is making me look at the camera and I don't like that. Then I stayed there for 3.5 years, served apprenticeship. During that time I did quite well actually, and started hairdressing at Reid College. After the 3 years I left there and went to Steiger's and continued hairdressing until the war broke out in 1939. I met Tommy in 1938. Then we got married in 1940. During the time that I was a teenager, I lived in Cannon Place. The houses no longer exist actually because it was all locked down to build the flats over the metropole. Those war years, of course, all that part was a restricted area, and if you went out in the evening, there was a curfew, and after dark, one had to have police permits to enter any of the roads running from Western Road down to the seafront. The seafront was all barbed wire, awaiting the arrival of the Germans, which thank God never came. Then when I got married, we had a very, very nice mews flat in Cambridge Grove, which when Tommy comes on we'll tell you much more about that. Then in 1943 we moved to Tivoli Crescent and have remained here ever since. Brought the family up here. David was born in 1943, and then Stephen and Tony. Stephen 1949 and Tony in 1950. And David went to Spearing College. Stephen and Tony went to Cottesmore, and then Tony on to the Lord's Convent and Stephen on to the grammar school. 34 years ago, which takes us back to, I can't work that one out. Anyway, we opened Blatchington's, and I went to work at Blatchington's from then until a couple of years ago, when I've semi-retired. Stephen went to the grammar school, went on to get a job with Unilever, and to London School of Economics, then on to university, and subsequently joined the BBC and Granada Television. Tony got married at a very early age to Chris, and has got, as Dot has already told you, 3 lovely children we're all very proud of. I'm very proud of Chris. David got married at a couple of months before Tony, and we've also got Debbie we're very proud of, lovely daughter-in-law, who now does quite a lot to help David in the shop. And now I think the rest of the family details will be passed over to Tom. Goodbye.
Hello there, everybody. Well, this is old Pop. Now, I've got to say something about many things, I suppose. Let's start with my parents. My father was born in Manchester, and my mother also. And both were well-known families. My father worked for many years for Rolls-Royce, And my mother was actually originally a school teacher. At the beginning of the war, World War One, I refer to now, we were transferred down to Brighton because Mr. Hartley, for whom my father worked, did not want to lose the services of my dad, so he brought us down to Brighton and we lived in a little flat. Christ, that was loud. So we lived in a little flat in Cambridge Grove, which was very adequate for us then as kids. And I always remember during the early part of the war, every so often, when my father was at the services in France, I used to organise a band. And we used to get this band to parade up and down Cambridge Grove, blowing the bugles all over the place, getting pennies which we should save towards the Guy Fawkes night. On the other hand, I had another scheme. The back of us, they used to make films, one of the earliest films made in this country. And I used to get hold of what they call, some of the shots they took were no good and they used to throw them away, and I used to get hold of them and join them together. And I had a small projector there, and I used to put little notice outside the girl's door. 3 o'clock this afternoon, film show. Of course the films meant nothing because they're only bits added together of all different films. Anyway, every week we had quite a few of the kids, but they got a bit wild out of me because they said, we're seeing the same films every week, so I squatted in the house by that kind of quiet. Now, where do we go from there? Dad comes back from the forces, and unfortunately, like so many other homes, my mum and father did not get on too well. It was like when I was 10, they split. My father decided that I would like to play a violin. So he bought me a violin for about, I think, £2 in those days. And he told me that I'd have to practice regularly, otherwise he'd belt the light out of me. Which he did, because I didn't practice so often for a while. I remember one day he went out somewhere and I went out to football. And he came back with me not there, so next morning I had to do 3 hours without stopping. Anyway, it was very good training because by the time I was 13 and a half, 14, I'd passed a number of exams through Trinity College. I'd also got to know a very nice little group playing dance music. And by the time I was 15, we were playing literally all over Brighton. From there, I really went on to a later stage, in 1819, I was playing the Regent, Sherry's, Grand Hotel, Metropole, anywhere in Brighton's any good, I used to play. So he did me one good turn, he didn't do anything else for me, because I had a car when I was 18, and it was all earned through money I obtained through playing in dance bands. My school career was not a really big success, as I was always in trouble, always in trouble. I was regularly caned every day, that didn't seem to improve me whatsoever. And the funny thing is that the school I went to was East Hove. That was the corner of Howell Road. On one corner was the Electric Light Works, then there's a school on the other corner, then there's the church, then there's a pub on the other corner, 4 corners. And it was known as electrification, education, salvation, and finally damnation. That's one of the biggest jokes in Brighton, but still it was an actual fact. Now at the age of 15 I was sent to my father. He said I'd never be a really good enough violinist to be a pro, so I was sent as an apprentice boy, and I worked at Colborne's in Western Road as an apprentice salesman in the furnishing trade. I always had a flair for selling things. Most of the times they're on a twist. I still had a flair for it. When I was 20, I moved along to a firm called Rings Limited. And from there, stayed until many, many years later. During this era, there was nothing really special happening. Not that I can actually recall. I wasn't married, of course, and there was a period of time when there were plenty of young ladies knocking about, which was to my entire satisfaction. Cut! No. Anyway, well, I don't know what year it would be, 1938. I came home from having played in somewhere in Hayes Heath, and standing outside the station used to be a coffee bar. And I said to a fellow Benham I was with, I said, see that girl at the corner there, don't you? And she's standing in the back of the coffee bar. I said, I'm going to marry her. He said, what are you going to do? What do you mean, marry her? That's the girl I'm going to marry, I said. He said, you don't have to take a lot of rot. I said, that's the girl I'm going to marry. And that was little Enid. And actually, I went round the back of the coffee bar and got chatting to her, and eventually made a date with her, took her out, and within, well, a couple of years we were almost engaged. Then, of course, the war broke out, and that messed lots of things up. We were still living in a flat in Cambridge Road, Grove, or at least I was. I saw Mr. Hartley and said, did he mind that I had the flat during the period of the war? He said, certainly. Because my father then had gone to work somewhere up in North, in the munition factory. We built a beautiful flat there. We knocked it to pieces. We knocked out fireplaces. We knocked out the bathrooms. We threw things through the back window, old stoves. But when we'd finished, it really was a really super flat. As a matter of fact, it's so so nice that Tommy Farr, whom I was quite friendly with, saw it and wanted to buy it there straight away. I know what he wanted to buy it for. It was a lovely place to bring his birds to, but that was the idea. In 1940, Ian and I got married, and we lived in the flat till 1943. And we only moved because Enid was pregnant. We bought a house up in Tivoli Crescent North for the amazing sum of £1,650. I thought I was mad in those days because that was a lot of money. I reserved occupation until 1943, and when I went in the forces I became a link trainer instructor. I didn't win any medals or get any awards, I just did what I had to do. Most of it was organising. I organised a tremendous lot of the sports side and the dance sides for the station, which was quite a big station at Turnhill. After the war, I came back to Rings, which for that time was running very satisfactorily, because if you could buy anything at all, you could sell it immediately. Anyway, after a number of years, things deteriorated a bit, so I said to John Ring, why not open another business? He agreed because I'd found one of my golfing friends who had a shop in Blatchington Road who wanted to sell it. However, I would not contemplate at all going into partnership unless I could have at least 33% of the shares. This was eventually agreed to, and the business really went from strength to strength. In 1978, unfortunately John Ring developed a serious illness and died within 3 months. Here, complications arose regarding the shares, but after a little while, or at least 6 months, the matters were cleared, all matters were cleared up, and I became the majority shareholder, and still down. Our son, who now is, oh God, how old is he? 35.
42.
Eh?
42.
42? At any rate, he's worked with us for a great number of years now, and he is now the managing director, and he tells me what to do now. The business, as I say, is running entirely by him, and I don't think there's saying much more about that. Really, the business was made, Blatchington's Limited was made on the earlier years from 1954 to 1964 between Enid and myself. We've been married now in life for 45 years, and it don't seem a date too long. However, that's the end of my story, and all I can say is just coming. God dear, oh dear, this is the 7th retake we've had of this. 7th time. At any rate, it would appear on, just a minute, what's the sound of my whiskey? As I was saying, it would appear on my last film bit. I missed out various things. Of course, one of the primary things was the fact that my life was not only playing golf, going to business, various other sports, but we also had 3 children amongst the other sports. Now there was David, Stephen and Tony. David I slightly mentioned a little bit beforehand. However, I would say a few more words about these 3 children, or our 3 children. They have all proved to be very, very good children, and never have we had the slightest difficulty with them in any way. Tony got drunk a couple of times, but that's about all. Now, David, now, as you know, is the managing director of the company and running it very well. He's worked very hard and he deserves the success that now comes to him. Stephen was slightly different because he was never a commercial man, and when he left the Brighton Hove Grammar School, he was told he was not suitable for university standards. However, he went to Unilever's in London, stayed there about 2 years, and through somebody there he knew, he managed to get an invitation or an entry to Manchester University. He subsequently won an honours degree in economics and went on then again to Oxford, where again he won a master's degree with honours. He then became interested in BBC television, where he got a job. He was then transferred to Granada Television as a higher position, and has now been just lately been made the general manager of the television news section of the Granada in Liverpool. He's done extremely well. And very good luck to him. I'm sure he will finish up a very wealthy man. Now we come to the final one of the brew. Antonia Reid. Now there ain't any question of doubt, she was the most brilliant one of the family. She always came back at the end of the year, Christmas, and I used to say to her, Dad, Tony, where are you in class? And she'd say, Dad, I'm sorry to tell you, I'm bottom. I say, not again. She said, I am, Dad, I'm bottom. Anyway, as she got a little bit older, I don't really know what happened, but on this certain year I said to her, now Tony, your report looks much better. Where have you finished? In class. She said, top. I said, what? She said, on top of the class. So I said, how in the class? She said, 2. So you can see how she pulled me out of behind this little string round her finger. At any rate, she's proved a very good mother and got 3 beautiful children. 2 girls and the last one, Tommy the boy, who's one of the most handsome young men I've ever seen. Tony and Kelsey, not Tony and Kelsey, Kelsey and Tracy, are also very pretty girls, and I'm sure when the time they mature fully, many, many boys will be chasing them. Now I come to Debbie, Dave's wife. Now I've always been a person who likes to mix people up together so they get on well. And on this instance, Debbie and David was again a remarkable story. Because I met Debbie long before David had ever seen her. And she used to be at King Alfred. And one day I said to her, "Don't you go out with boys?" She said, "I don't know any nice boys." Well, I said, "My son's a nice boy. I'm sure he'd like to take you to his party." So she said, "Well, perhaps I'll go. I'd like to meet him." Anyway, unbeknown to me, she made a signal. I'd already arranged with the mother that if she didn't like him when he got to the door, she's going to put a thumb down like that. And that was the end of that. However, when he arrived, she ran into an instant light came for him, and in due course, he got married. And she's turned out to be a very, very good wife. She's a very pretty girl, very intelligent, and a very good eye for colour, decoration, and layout. She's not very good on figures, and I don't mean girls' figures, I mean figures of arithmetic. But that's about the only fault I could find with her any. So, they are both very happy, and that's about all I can say there. We wish them well, at least I am. Of course we wish them very well. And I'm sure they will remain happy for many, many, many years. Now finally, I come to dear old Chris, Tony's husband. Strange, isn't it, that he should be another Reid, RWD. However, that's how it happened to be. He's an exceptional man, in as much as he can do any job you ask him to do. But he sets his mind to it. And he can also be the reverse if he doesn't want to do it. He's had ill fortune with various little things in his life, which I'm not going to go into. But I feel sure in the long run these will all settle themselves out, and before many years to come, things will be absolutely on an equal level, and they'll all be very, very happy, and more happy if possible than they are now. I can't say any more, because there's a lot more I could say, but it'd go on forever. So I'd just like to finish this film by saying thanks once again for being photographed, and I do hope that that when I see this in a few number of years' time, we'll all laugh about it and say, let's do another one. Cheers, bye-bye.